You are listening to the Righteous Anger Podcast. This is episode 14. Now, that's 14 episodes in, right? 13 really, we're looking at our 14th right now. And we've had our friendly neighborhood atheist, Eric, here, sidekicking, making sure that the show just flows and keeps going and doesn't stop. And sometimes he stopped the show himself and then kickstarted it back up. Now, what's one thing? Now, just to let you know, Eric's a very intelligent guy. But what's one thing that I have failed to listen to Eric about all these episodes? Bring atheist Eric Herman on the show. That's been his battle cry. That's been his drum that he's been beating. Bring Eric Herman on. The Non-Discript Atheist. That's where he's from. And what we're going to end up doing is saying, okay, Eric, Santiago, why not? Let's do it. Let's bring the Non-Discript Atheist on the Righteous Anger Podcast, and let's see what the heck happens. Because we don't know yet. But I'll tell you one thing. I've already got to meet the guy. Seems pretty cool. Our kids played together. They didn't scratch each other's eyes out. Does that mean that we have to scratch one another's eyes out, Eric? Herman?
Well, no.
So, without further ado, I would like...
I hope not.
He doesn't know what's in store for him. I'm kind of doing a Jocko Willing thing. He doesn't know what's in store for him, but you know what? We're going to do this.
Welcome to the Righteous Anger
Welcome,
Podcast.
Eric Herman, Non-Discript Atheist, to the Righteous Anger Podcast.
Well, thank you. And it is a little known secret that all atheists are actually named Eric.
So we all wear glasses and we all work in IT.
Yes.
I knew there was some kind of conspiracy going on.
We're taking over from the dark net, as they say.
Why'd you guys choose the name Eric to start things off with?
Well, my mom chose it because there was an Eric on some TV show she was watching.
I was almost an Erica. If I was born with a different gender, I would have been an Erica instead of an Eric. I guess she just liked the name.
Well, you know what? What do you think about when you...
Read that one a little too deeply.
We've got some hardcore Indian-style shisha going on right now.
That stuff's strong.
He loves it. Don't let him fool you. Yeah, so last week we had Arjan Crew. That's what I called him, but he's now Arjan. Now he's a master professor in the Muay Thai arts, Scott Howard. And he is the guy who taught me mixed martial arts and Muay Thai and, the stand-up side of things, but more importantly, taught me about a lot of important things like honor, lineage, hard work, just the things that you get from a real, true coach. So I thought it would be really cool. We kind of got to dive deep into sort of somebody in my world. And here we are in the very next episode. We're diving deep with one of Santiago here, one of his partners in crime in the atheism world. So I felt like it was fitting to bring him in. Eric, you want to do a little intro for your pal?
Sure.
Okay. Oh. Which Eric?
Santiago.
So
It's going to be a running theme in this show, I think.
Eric Herman is the Non-Discript Atheist, the proud owner of TrustReason.com.
Yes.
And soon to be the CEO of Beltway Atheists Incorporated, educational nonprofit.
We're taking over.
Based in Northern Virginia
You guys
for the
have-
entire Beltway area.
You guys have over 2,000 years of catching up to do, but okay.
Hey, got to start somewhere.
Well,
Look at the information age. Only started, 60 years ago?
we'll try not to splinter as much as you guys did into the subsidiaries.
I think the cool thing about Eric coming on this show, as opposed to the aforementioned, like a Pat Robertson style show, is that you and I are going to agree on probably 89, 90% of things, especially in the Christian world. But
I do have a tidbit of news we need to discuss during this episode. It's kind of awesome.
should we kick off with it?
Yeah, we can kick off with it.
All right, let's kick off
I
with
do want to
this.
get your opinion.
So what's your news?
So did you guys hear about the Ten Commandments exhibit that was put up on a courthouse?
Mm-hmm.
It was destroyed within 24 hours.
How?
This evangelical Christian guy decided, you know what, I'm going to drive up on the courthouse lawn and I'm going to wreck it with my car. He's in jail right now.
Why do you do that?
I
Is
have
that
no
the
idea.
is that the one? What was it? Louisiana or something?
I think so. I can look it up, but it's a crazy story because
So that
you
thing
know
was
who's coming to the
destroyed?
guy's. You know who's coming to the guy's defense? Well, not
The
defense,
Satanists.
but no,
Tell me it's a Satanist.
no, the FFRF.
Okay,
They're saying
cool.
that this was not the way you go about expressing yourself.
Can
properly.
somebody please tell me what an FFRF is?
Freedom from Religion Foundation. They fight for separation of church and state, especially laws that are
Arkansas.
religiously privileged.
That happened in Arkansas.
Arkansas,
serious?
you're
Yeah,
right,
man.
Arkansas.
10
Look at that.
Commandments monument destroyed live on Facebook.
Yeah, he
Wow.
freaking live casted
And
it.
he
He's
was
an idiot.
And he was a
People
Christian.
don't realize that you
evangelical
can
Christian man.
find out who did something when they live feed it on Facebook. Right now, I'm live fed on Facebook. Hey, I'm not pretending that I'm not here. Was that a middle finger?
No,
No.
it was forfeit.
Okay.
Michael Tate Reed, 32, streamed Facebook Live the moment he drove his 2016 Dodge Dart over the State House lawn.
And I'm Dodge
Crashed-
Dart.
Dodge
Crashed
Dart?
into the
Boo.
monument. Yes. Look at that.
Such a
Look at his
classic
agreement.
car. He ran into a stone. Man,
Um,
he's obviously not an auto aficionado.
Yeah, this guy is just complete dick all around, man.
oh, and you're not going to
Seriously.
like it either. He's rocking a beard.
What was his thing?
Oh, he
that
strongly
guy.
supports the separation of church and state.
That guy stays.
Okay.
That guy stays in an alcoholic state. You
All
can
the
tell. You
time.
can see this. Guys, look up this guy's photo. His name is Michael Tate Reed, 32, accused of ramming his car into the Ten Commandments. Look at this guy's picture. He looks like bad Santa or something. Like young, young bad
Did
Santa.
he say he was a evangelical?
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
I take issue with that. Not because.
Well, self-ascribed.
Not well, yeah, but and that's one thing that Eric Herman and I were talking about earlier. It's like his background as not a Methodist,
Everything.
a Lutheran during the time of Lutheranism for him, and the idea that, like, okay, for instance, Catholics and a lot of other denominations believe on sprinkling a baby, and therefore the baby is, saved or whatever, right?
Sprinkling versus dunking.
Versus dunking. I don't care about sprinkling or dunking. To me, I'd rather dunk because it's more fun, and actually, if you're talking about something that is symbolic, and I'm big on symbols, being an anthropologist. I like symbols. I think they should make sense, right?
Who was it? Mark Twain that said that baptism is a fine thing with soap.
However, that's a great quote. Thank you for bringing Mark Twain into this. But however, I personally don't believe that you can make that decision for your kids. You know what I mean?
Choosing that relationship with Christ.
Yeah. If it is in fact a relationship, I can't say, all right, you're my son, Eric, and now you're this. This is you.
Well, I have an issue about the relationship description of it, but I agree with you otherwise.
Of course you do. You
I
don't believe God exists.
Well, yeah. Well,
I say make it a thing, like a carnival thing, like have a dunk tank at the baptism. Put the kid in there and let everybody chuck
right, and then whoever
chuck Bibles at
Who-
the.
check Bibles at the target.
and whoever hits the target and dunks the kid,
Yeah,
goes to like
That's the Godfather.
Yeah.
That's the godparents.
the godparents. They get like a mansion in
Yeah.
heaven. Everybody else gets like single family homes,
Yeah.
but they get
They
the mansion.
they get the pool
Yeah.
and the tennis court.
Well,
by virtue of good aim with
Yeah.
the Bible.
Yeah.
Right.
Your right arm is strong.
I think that the godparents they like win the kid. That's like they're the
he's
ones.
mine.
Yeah, he's parents. I'm like second to the parents when they kick off. Then I get the kid. I
I get the money. Too.
hit the target.
Hey, speaking of kids, by the way,
Yes.
I gotta get that hat. That he's wearing a hat that says "Best Daddy" and then his daughter's name underneath.
Ava.
I didn't know if you wanted us to put that out there. But yes,
Well, I don't want you to mispronounce. Just don't worry about it. I've said it many times on my
She's been
show.
on the show.
the wonderful Ava.
She has actually some deep insights into philosophy.
She's a little scholar. She's
Really?
sharp as a whip.
That's awesome. How old is she again?
She's 6 now, but I've had her on the show since she was like 3.
Wow.
And
So you're indoctrinating her into atheism.
No, I'm not actually.
It's the most fascinating stuff I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah.
She has in conversation, the word church came up, and she asked, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. How do I talk? How to explain this?"
It's a place where idiots go.
There's this thing, God, that some people believe in, and what's that? It's like it's kind of an invisible guy, and I don't believe it myself, but other people do. And she says, well, "I don't believe it either. How can you show an invisible guy even exists or anything?"
So,
And I said,
from the lips of babes.
"Yeah." And I said, "Well, don't just believe stuff because I tell you, because I believe it." You know, she's a Bernie fan too because Daddy's a Bernie fan, so she's obviously copying me a lot. I can't help that.
Yeah, that
Further proves my point.
that
Remember
tends
we
to
talked
happen.
about that.
But I keep I tell her like, well, you got to find your own reasons to believe things, and also
But doesn't that go against? I feel like being an atheist is what is the word? As evangelical as being an evangelical
not really.
in the respects that if you guys believe that this is the truth, right? Because that's all I care about is ultimate truth. What's the ultimate truth, right? If that's the ultimate truth, then to allow somebody to believe that something that's not truth, isn't that aiding in their own delusions?
Okay, let me ask you this: would you take your child to a mosque or a synagogue and teach them all the different religions to make sure that they have a wide enough experience before choosing Christianity?
I'll say no, and this is the reason why.
Why?
And again, coming from an anthropologist that extensively studied religion, especially Eastern religion, and of course Judeo-Christian as well. If that were the depth of it, then yes, I would. The problem is that's not the base question that I want my kid to answer for herself. So showing her cultural folklore and artifacts from different things doesn't get to the ultimate answer or ultimate truth.
Okay, but I would actually, when she's old enough to be able to understand what a God is, first of all,
I'd want her to study different things for sure, but I wouldn't say study all. And by the way, that's impossible to study every religious.
no, it's not. Yeah, it's impossible.
That's impossible. So you'd have to pick and choose which.
Or let her, pick. When you have a poll in the United States, you don't ask everyone in the United States. You ask a representative sample from as wide a
right, and you try to get as close as possible. But again, what are you getting as close as possible to? What answer are you getting to when you're showing?
I don't get as close a possible answer to any. Well, from my point of view,
diving deep.
I would expose. When she becomes to an age where she can understand, has the abstract reasoning to understand what the concepts are, I'd want her to explore, all the different religions that she wants, and you want to go to this mosque or church, or whatever. She's already been to my brother-in-law's church.
He's a Methodist, right?
Methodist minister, yeah. Right. He was actually on my show once.
He's fun.
I would expose her to that.
He's the third Eric, right?
He's also Eric, by the way.
Golly, how's he not? I thought all atheists were Erics.
He's almost there. We got the name and we got the rest of it. It's a process.
It's a yeah. You gotta evangelical atheists.
No, I'm joking.
Okay, so what are we evangelizing?
Yeah,
just like,
Eric.
Hey, we got some answers here.
The only thing I really evangelize is critical thinking. I want to push her to whenever someone makes a claim to say, okay, let me first understand what your claim is, and repeat it back and say, this is what you're saying, and then go back. And
so you're actually an agnostic then?
Oh boy!
It depends on what your definition of agnostic. Let me finish my point.
Okay.
That she would actually research the claim or decide for herself whether she believes the claim, not just because someone else did it. For example, I really instill in her that adults do stupid things a lot, so don't believe them all.
Especially the ones with candy in a van.
Well, especially daddies. I've messed with her since she's an infant, and she knows, like, okay, Dad.
Dude, I do the same. My wife gives me the hardest time. Well, not anymore, because we all in the joke. Now Kira's old enough to get, she's like, Dad, you're just messing with, now she gets it.
Yes.
So now it's open season, but I'm with you on that. Messing with daughters is fun.
I'll give you an example.
Wait, let me rephrase that. Playing practical jokes on your daughter is fun.
Messing with their head is fun.
Phrasing.
Messing with their head.
Right.
But, like, for example, we have a garage door, and I told her that the way to open the garage door is to say, open garage door. And then on my phone, I'd open the garage door.
And she's like, oh, it worked.
And after the first few times, she noticed me with my phone, and for the rest of the time, for the last few years, she's like, you're doing this on your phone. I was like, well, what do you mean on my phone? That's not my phone here. And still, to this day...
So he's not only is he not an atheist, he's an agnostic, and he's of the Pentecostal style of agnostic.
Oh, dear.
Pentecostal.
Open, just say open and believe, and it will open for you.
No, but
she poked holes in that really quickly.
Unlike the Pentecostal, I pride myself on her poking holes in that. And
wearing pants.
Even the like the tooth fairy, she's picked up on that a lot. She's like, it's really your guys, isn't it?
Does she believe in Santa, or is that gone for her too?
Santa is pretty much gone. It's something that
hard-boiled 6-year-old.
She is. I mean,
she's a huge Wonder Woman fan.
She does. She asked me about Santa the other day. What was her question? I got to think of her question now. I'll have to come back to that when I think of the question. But it was like, first of all, that was from a story that you read, and from another story.
She was just talking about how it's all myth, it's all lore.
Does Santa Claus ever die?
Oh yeah, that's a good way to ask. Yeah,
every Christmas he dies and comes back.
And the thing is that she saw on one of the movies where Santa Claus wasn't going to do Christmas because he wasn't feeling well or something, and some other guy took it over. It was like,
sounds like the Santa Claus.
Yeah, like the Santa Claus or one of those movies. There's been a few like that.
What kind of accent do you have?
Me?
Yeah.
Generic.
No, where are you
totally
from?
generic.
It's a Michigander accent.
Where are you from? Oh, you're from Michigan?
I'm from Michigan. I've lived in D.C. for a long time. I lived in Nyack, New York for a while.
Yeah, I hear it. I'm actually I'm from here, like from here, and anybody from Northern Virginia, for the most part, if they're from Northern Virginia, sound like the news, just because it's Northern Virginia.
Oh,
and then but my mom, she's from Southern Virginia, so she's got that
little twang.
That southern. Well, yeah, it's very.
She got a little twang in her voice.
Well, it's very distinct. It ain't like a Georgia peach. It's kind of dirtier, actually. It's a little dirtier.
A little dirtier.
It's kind of like a peach that's fallen on the ground a little bit. And,
it's a little rot on that.
It's not rotten. It's still sweet. It just has a little dirt on it. You got to brush it off.
Brush it off and go to town.
She's a little rough around the edges, but yeah.
But yeah, but I'm really not trying to evangelize atheism to my daughter. I'm trying to let her know what people believe, teach her how to think for herself, and even down to not even religion wise. Like she bought a toy and it broke, and I said, well, that one was very cheap. You got to be careful what you spend your money on, because what's advertised doesn't necessarily match what you get, especially if it has a picture of a princess or something on it.
Ooh,
they're trying to
sell it.
That's usually the cheap stuff they sell with the princess pictures on it.
You mean like Disney?
Just like she got this version, the game Trouble, and it was like the
dude.
We
played Trouble. We had family night every Monday, and Monday we played Trouble.
There's a version of it for Elsa and
Anna.
The Frozen version.
I'm well versed with Frozen, and
I could sing the song.
Hell
I've
yeah!
heard it so much.
Are you kidding me? I can accompany in with 3 different instruments now.
Yeah.
And now it's all about Moana. I don't know about you, but
she likes that one too.
I'm so out of my element. I got boys. This is so weird.
Sorry, we'll talk about death and killing and war later.
No,
That's the other thing is we're trying to introduce her to boy stuff too. Just the fact that he said boy stuff kills the argument about the whole. I mean,
gender
stuff labeled boy stuff.
Nothing's labeled boy stuff anymore.
It is.
Easy bake ovens now with boys on the which, by the way, Patrice O'Neal's like.
But even when they do that, there's like a boys version and a girls version. If you go to Toys R Us, there is a pink aisle,
pink
a literal.
You're right.
I don't see a problem with that though.
I don't either.
I think that they're not marketing to little girls on what they think little girls should like. They're marketing to little girls based on what little girls have said
what they
like.
actually like. Yeah,
I could prove that's not true.
But is it conditioned?
Okay,
is the question, right?
We have a claim.
Okay, let's go with it.
In Iran, pink is considered a male color. Little kids do not buy. There's no pink aisle in Iran. Pink was an artificially made female color.
Okay.
All this sparkly pink stuff is all marketing.
So let me refine what you said then. It's not the fact that there are inherently boy traits and girl traits that you're arguing. You're arguing that color and cultural decisions based on what boy and girl is depends on the culture that you're in.
Matter of fact, in the U.S., boys used to wear dresses.
They didn't call them dresses, though, of course.
They called them dressing
kilts. How dare you?
No,
let me go. I'm going to get my claymore in a second.
No. There's pictures of who was it? Woodrow Wilson when he was a little boy in a dress.
And that was just children, though. Like that was there was
children. Children were. It's like little boys, little children. They wore dresses. They call them.
I can do you
dressing.
I can do you one
clothes.
better, Eric Herman. I can do you one better. In the 70s, men wore booty shorts.
And before that,
and they're coming back.
And before that, topless men was considered obscene.
Right, because I think they were like, we can't allow, like modesty was so high because of, I'm sure because of the, what is it, the what are they called? Not the.
There's a freaking Victorian age that affected us.
No. God, what? Not.
I don't even know if
what's the religion that came over?
I don't even know if I can swear on this podcast. I know I'm not.
We try not to because we want our kids to be able to hear the knowledge that comes out.
Okay,
but what?
I will refrain then.
What?
Yep, there you go. See.
Okay, but what's the religion that came over from England here?
The Anglican.
The Anglican religion, yeah.
It's Protestant.
No.
No, there was a group of the people escaping England was the Puritans.
Thank you, Puritan. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Wasn't
very puritanical.
So a puritanical thing is like this a very, very high level of modesty.
Or dancing is even.
You get the 40-hour work week from Puritans.
And there were still rapes going on.
And the whole war against Christmas, Puritans outlawed it.
Thought it was a pagan tradition, right?
Yeah, they thought it was too pagan.
Oh, because it's Yule. Like all the trappings of modern Christmas are all like you can trace them back to Yule.
You guys know why they did that?
Coca-Cola?
No,
Trying
what?
to sell Coke? Modern vision of Santa Claus is all Coca-Cola.
No, not Christmas in America.
Oh, Christmas.
I'm saying why
the Puritans?
Why pagan holidays became Christian holidays?
Yeah, because it was popular.
It's incorporation.
And,
right. It's assimilation.
Assimilation, yeah. They wanted to have their parties, and they said, well, let's just do it on the Yule Day because everyone's having parties there anyway.
They're doing it anyway.
It's the same thing with Hanukkah. Hanukkah's not a major Jewish religion.
Or holiday.
Yes, or holiday. I mean, religion, holiday. And we sort of made it one so they could kind of be equal to the Christmas and not feel left out.
8 crazy nights.
It's a ploy to sell stuff.
Yeah, it is. But behind it is, the solstice itself is actually kind of a cool time
Solstice is awesome.
Reflect.
See, now you know why I called you a pagan last week.
Yes.
I
am of the woods.
Of the woods.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I listened to our podcast with Scott last week. I think it's a good one, man.
Yeah, it was
solid. A lot of excerpts that we're going to be able to get out. And I don't want you, Santiago, to criticize yourself just because that wasn't your element. Because I think you did a fantastic job, like kind of pushing the show.
Yeah, just dropping little bits of.
Okay, because
let's do that.
you tend to be a little
Critical.
So
Yeah.
I don't want you to be critical because I am just like that was an awesome show. You did a fantastic job. Just to let you know.
Well, thank you. You did a good job too. I think you kept the dialogue going on certain points that I was lost on.
So
and that was good.
So Eric Herman, we had a guy, one of my martial arts masters.
Yeah.
Now, whenever you say martial
So
arts,
when he starts talking about martial arts, when I'm listening to your show on Wednesdays, sometimes I turn on my computer. We start doing the martial arts stuff. It's like, yeah,
not into it. Yeah.
Let me just dial out on that one.
You know,
turn it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, go back to Facebook.
So
not everybody's into it, but that was my element, and so we got to bring him on and kind of talk about. And the thing is, I think you would have enjoyed a lot of the things that he said. Eric Santiago was definitely you were like, especially some of the things he was saying about paying for some of the fighters that couldn't.
that was cool.
They couldn't afford their blood tests, they couldn't afford their physicals and all that stuff. He just pays for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes he pays for a steak dinner after their fight, whether they win or lose, and he doesn't ask for anything in return. Isn't that just a great quality? Just being a great human being. But I guarantee you, most of that martial arts.
Yeah.
Like there's some things from the martial arts that you get that, I mean, especially in America, you just don't get anywhere else.
I think he has a lot of things about life figured out that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, and he's like in his mid 40s, late 40s, so he's not even that old.
But you know where I don't think you necessarily have to get it from is as a corollary to what you just said.
Religion,
right?
Well, I mean, ding ding.
I think I met a lot of atheists who would do pretty much the same thing.
Would it?
I've also met some real a-hole atheists
Oh
too.
my
Lots of
gosh,
them.
Christopher Hitchens.
Actually, he's pretty cool. I met him.
Yeah, he's not a cool guy. He's not.
He
He's not a nice guy.
He is.
Was
Oh yeah,
He's very friendly. I had a drink with him. And he's very cordial. He'll talk to you about anything.
You know,
He was-
I'll give you an example. I met a
Was,
guy.
yeah.
I met a fighter one time who everybody said this guy was a terrible person,
Yeah.
and he treated me right that day. And therefore, my thought on him was great guy. That's
Okay.
okay. That,
He treated me right both days I met him.
where were you at? Like one of these conventions or something?
Well, first time I met him was what was it? Al Sharpton was
that debate. That was a fun debate to watch.
on.
He debated Al Sharpton.
Yeah, he debated Al Sharpton.
Not that that's any mean feat or anything.
Yeah, it's not a mean feat, and
he kind of digressed into like
he was like
this,
totally chill going into it. We met him before the show.
I think a lot of Hitchens' arguments in that debate go over Sharpton's head. He kept coming back to, I
Yeah.
don't understand how God is not great still.
This is the problem with
Christopher Hitchens was like, okay, here's an example of how God's not great.
And
What do
Right.
you have to say in response?
And this
I
is-
still don't understand how that makes God not great.
which is why I'm saying
Exactly.
that's no mean feat, and that I have a big problem with Christians or people that profess to represent Christianity that get into some of these debates and they have no right
Yeah,
to be in those debates. They have no tools. All they have is I believe this.
but even if you listen to Christopher Hitchens on the YouTube, doing debates, he is always very
I listen to most
cordial.
of them, too, by the way.
He's very cordial to who he's debating. He doesn't attack them personally. He attacks what they say
And their ideas.
and their ideas. And if you read his book,
I've heard him attack somebody like, but name call. Would you say name? I'm not saying Christopher Hitchens was a bad guy.
there's some people that he just didn't like, and he said, "Okay, this guy's a real ass."
There we
whatever.
go. There we go. So we're going to say he was a little spicy.
He's a little. He did have very sharp words.
That's what I'm saying.
And there is a thing called the hitch slap,
So, yeah.
which is
You get
when
hitch slapped.
when someone says something stupid and he just says just the perfect response to it that it feels like a
And
slap.
not to mention the British accent helps too.
Oh, it does. I mean, same with Dawkins. The British accent helps him a lot too.
That is a nice man. I don't care what anyone says. That guy is really nice.
Richard Dawkins.
Yeah, he's a
Dawkins.
sweet guy.
I met him too.
In real life, like meeting him personally, he's just very soft-spoken and very friendly and open.
Yeah, but when you meet these guys, and when you see these guys, and the only time you see these guys is when there's in a quote opponent with him, then you're going to see him mostly combative because any of us, we put an opponent there, we're going to fight the opponent to a
Yeah.
certain extent.
Not if you profess to believe in Jesus. But hey, hold on a second.
Hey, no, there's
No,
or being
Go ahead.
Jesus like.
Jesus also attacked opponents.
Righteous anger. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
To okay,
Give me one sec. Hold your thought. Give me 1 second.
redefined, I guess.
I just want to say Scott Howard is on.
Hey.
What's going on? What's going on? Scott, we were just talking about you, Scott. He says you don't have to believe in an ultimate creator to follow some of the logic of how to treat others. My ideals
Right.
are based on a combination of all religions without wholly believing in any. I don't take any
Okay.
issue with that. I don't take any issue with that.
I think that when you get your morality, you should not get your morality from just one book. I think you should get it from many sources. You should get it from life experiences. And if he's getting it from life experiences and also taking what he can of wisdom from any books he finds, such as whatever religious books he's into, that's fine.
I got a very humanist vibe from Scott, and I thought that was great. Like,
And
he
I get a
very much
humanist
cares
vibe.
about
I get a
people.
humanist vibe from a lot of clergy. The more progressive they are, the more humanist they seem to be.
Yeah.
Can you define humanist for me?
Yeah, basically a morality based on what is good for humanity, what is good to promote a society that you would want to live in.
Who would want to live in?
You.
Okay, so
Would-
you're saying there's an ultimate truth to how people, as a human being, want to
Okay.
live?
No, it's personal. It's like the person who is, I guess you're
Okay, let
talking
me ask.
about the
Let me ask you a
indefinite person.
question. Let me ask you a question. Is there an ideal, as far as health goes? Is there like a pristine ideal human that you can base? You know, this is what healthy is, and you compare everyone else to it. Like there's a perfect height, a perfect weight, a perfect hair color that a perfect human would be.
Let me digest your question. No, right off from the offset, I'll give you my gut reaction answer, which is me coming from the health world, health and
Right.
fitness world. There's a gauge for different parameters, or there's different parameters for different parts of your body that would either put you on the healthy or the unhealthy side.
Right.
Now, you mentioned hair color, which has nothing to do with health.
Right.
But
But it's still a characteristic of a human. If you're going to talk about a perfect human, it would be all the way down to everything perfect about them.
There's no such thing as a perfect human.
Exactly.
Well,
And there's no absolute perfect ideal for morality.
In this room, I think we can all agree on that. But there are people who would argue that there is a perfect person, and he did exist at one point in time. And we might have different.
Are you going to go Godwin on us?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That
Say
in this room, we're pretty
to
reasonable.
the master
folk.
race type stuff, but
Wait
yeah,
a minute, Godwin?
Godwin. Any argument will eventually boil down to a Hitler reference, and that stops the
No,
argument.
I wasn't referencing Hitler. I was referencing Jesus.
That's what I thought he was too. Where's your mind going?
Wow.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like Hitler was into like
No,
a
he was
perfect
about
human master
perfecting
race.
it,
Like
the
eugenics
Aryan
and
race.
stuff?
Yeah.
Well, eugenics is actually an American concept.
But to go back to my point,
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
morality is the same way. We have certain things which we know kind of help humanity. We can gauge that. There's some things that are definitely unhealthy to humanity, like killing them off, disease, stuff like that. That just is bad to humanity.
Well, do you believe in?
But there's no perfect ideal. It's just we know certain things
You're saying
from
there's
our
no such
experiences.
there's no such thing as a perfect morality.
Right.
So from my study, right, I understand that there's such a thing as
There's no perfect health either.
okay. So from my study, what is it? It's
I
not
like the discussion though. It's
not
nice.
not universalism, but what's the word when everything meaning like there is no ultimate
It's relativism.
Like nihilism?
relativism. We'll go with relativism. So
Relativism, okay.
So relativism, right?
There's
So
a couple of different kinds of relativism. So we're talking about philosophical relativism.
we'll
Okay.
go with that. And a moral. Actually, I'm talking moral relativism.
Moral
That's different
relativism,
from
yes.
philosophical.
So I would disagree that morality, I would disagree that there is no perfect morality. I think there is a perfect morality. I think that there is a way for human beings.
So you can break down every action a person does
Yeah.
into whether it's on the moral side or immoral side. There's no gray area.
I would say that there's things that are right and better, and there's things that are bad and evil.
Say
So you give me an example.
there are so many.
Give me an example. Give me an example of something that you say there's no this is not, and I'll tell you whether I think that's even in the moral spectrum.
Okay.
Hypothetical. Let's
Smoking
play
a
ping pong.
hookah.
Smoking hookah?
Yeah.
I put that in the gray column for me.
I don't think that has anything to do with morality.
There's a benefit, but it's an action
What does that have to do with morality?
because it's a human action. If you can, if you can,
people.
All
if you can
human
say-
actions don't have to be a moral question. Or
Okay.
live
Do you
in
think
moral-
it's do you think it's good or bad or neutral?
depends on if you like lung cancer or not,
Okay.
Or if you care.
or if you care,
Right.
if you want to live forever. Or,
There's
or
some
try to
people.
live
There's
forever.
some people that would absolutely say it's a bad thing because of the health risks.
There's some people that drink piss and say that's good for you.
Yeah.
Urologists.
So right there, you got a disagreement on it. How do you? Okay, now
But
what's
that's
the, what's
not
the
a,
absolute
that's not a
measure of
moral.
that?
That's not a moral question.
All
For,
of this
for you, for some people, it is.
Then that's the problem. I'm saying I don't
Exactly.
believe in moral relativism. If I did, I'd say you're right. But on the grounds that I'm saying that's not that's not a moral
Okay,
question.
let's figure it out then. What moral guide do you? Can you look that action up and say, okay, is it in this column? No, or this column? No, or neither one?
Murder.
No, the hookah. I'm talking about the hookah. If
Oh,
it's
yeah.
absolute, you should be able to point to the ideal and say, okay, here's the ideal person, obviously not smoking a hookah, or this one is smoking a hookah, so it's which one is
Why don't you
ideal?
smoke a hookah?
No. Once again, whether you smoke hookah or not
You claim that it's not more. And it
has nothing to do with morals.
Okay,
Careful on the ping pong, guys. Take turns.
Then demonstrate that it has nothing to do with morals by showing what would put it on one side or not.
Okay, so you're both getting to a really great topic,
Which is
and
what
that's
is- what
how
is-
do you gauge what is a moral
what is-
action and
yeah.
what is not a moral action?
Yeah.
What is
Like
moral?
that's
an
an underlying
absolute-
question to
If
that
there's
you're
an
both
if there's
fighting
an, if it's
discussing.
absolute, there must be something you can measure it against.
Jesus
That's
Okay.
usually where things go to.
Okay, then.
or God actually.
Well, there's
Okay, name something you know about Jesus that wasn't written third hand that you actually know what he said.
What do you mean written third hand?
we're getting into veracity of Bible text.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go.
I mean, how?
let's discuss
there-
currently what's
let me,
going
let me
on.
state that more simply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you measure hookah against Jesus?
That's a
Okay, all right. I'll play with this one. I would say that hookah is not. It's not a moral thing, but in the idea that your body is a temple and you're trying to make your body as healthy as possible. If I was being perfect, then I would not smoke hookah.
Okay. How about slavery?
those are night and day, but
Okay, I'm about to
How about slavery? What is it?
good or bad
is slavery good or bad?
according to this perfect moral compass?
What kind of slavery are we talking about? Are we talking about the American slavery? Or are we
About-
talking about indentured servitude?
I'm talking about one person being able to own another and being able to pass it on to their children.
Obviously, Jesus said that. No,
Actually, he did not.
actually did.
Where?
oh dear.
Okay,
Moral-
back that up.
No, let's talk about it abstractly because
Okay.
we're getting detailed, right? So the underlying question is
All-
a moral
it-
act.
it-
What defines a moral act, right?
Well, he
there has
said-
to be some barometer for how you can
And
determine.
he said
what's
that
what.
barometer is Jesus.
Okay, so
I
we've
want to
determined the
point. I
barometer.
want to point out that the Bible says that a slave
Mm-hmm.
can be owned and passed down to as inheritance because it is property.
Okay, two things. First of all, I actually heard I was listening to a Jewish professor talk about the difference between what you and I consider slavery from our American experience and what slavery was back in that culture. Mm-hmm. So that's important. The context is always important.
Sure,
And the other thing is, what was the other part of his question?
that you could own them to the point where you can pass them down.
Oh,
as
Inherit their
inheritance.
children.
What part of the Bible are you referencing?
It was the Old Testament.
What part?
That's probably
I'd have to look
Leviticus.
it. I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
I don't have a Bible with me. Do you have a? If
Yeah,
you
we
give
do.
me,
Got a few. What do you, which
I
one
need
you
a
want?
searchable one.
All right, we'll pull a Bible Gateway.
Actually, if I can get your Wi-Fi, I can search it myself.
What am I looking for?
Bible on slavery, basically.
Well, let's just look up slavery.
Yeah.
I mean, the short
There's
answer.
several verses on it. And when did Jesus ever say that was not a
Lots of stuff
good
about
thing?
slavery in Exodus,
Right. Yeah, right.
Deuteronomy,
Right.
Joshua, Judges,
Right.
Nehemiah.
Let's go to the Ten
Galatians.
Commandments. Ten Commandments says, "Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's property, including your oxen and slave and and house."
Okay.
He's,
Now-
he's treating it as property.
Now, by the way, I do want to say one thing. When Jesus came, he was actually killed by Jewish people, right? Like the powers that be. The Pharisees.
According to the stories, yeah.
Right, according to the fairy tale. So, so I would say that there's some things that if you're referencing Old Testament Jewish law, you're going to find some things that Jesus said, no, that's definitely not kosher.
And there's also things in the New Testament where he referenced slaves also, and never said anything bad against it.
Like, don't be a slave to
Like, don't
money.
own people. Like,
Don't be a slave to
don't
sin.
own people. He never said don't own people. That's bad.
Well, yeah, but what about the
See, there's nothing-
what about the hold on, Eric? What about the idea that
It's like hookah. Hookah's not mentioned in the Bible. Neither is slavery as a bad thing.
I'm going with you. But Jesus does reference the holiness of people. The fact that we are created in the image of God. We're all the same in that respect. What right do you have to own somebody else that has as much or as? If I'm your slave, then you're just as much my slave. If we are truly on that egalitarian field of all created in the image of God.
Yeah, they kind of addressed that. They told the slaves, hey, obey your masters, because ultimately you'll get your own after you die or something. But
See, and
it's okay.
This is a slippery slope, because if you say this is what it said, but then we don't go right to it, back it up, and know the full context, now it's just hearsay.
True.
At this point,
I'm hampered because I don't have my my data's account. My account's,
so let's just talk.
nil.
Let's just talk about what we believe, because
Okay.
really that's what we can talk about.
Yeah, let's stick to what we fundamentally understand.
Okay, let's just go. Okay, how would you support? The thing is that when you say, there's a perfect. Okay, first he used the words. There's a perfect morality.
Oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry,
We got a
Scott.
comment.
Yeah, Shannon Smith joined up. Hey, Shannon, that's the she massaged you, my friend.
Hey, hi Shannon. Thanks for watching.
Episode 5, I think. And Scott says the Bible never condoned it either. It did state how slaves should be treated, though.
Yeah.
And once again, we're not talking like antebellum slavery here. We're talking about the slavery that was going on in that day.
And when you talked about how to treat them, it's okay to beat them as long as they don't die within a couple of days.
Yeah, that's terrible.
It's
That's terrible. Those Jews, I swear. I'm so glad Jesus came and straightened those guys out.
he didn't though. Not one jot or tittle did he change.
Oh, he changed a lot. He got killed for it, actually.
No, he said that was a quote from Jesus, by the way.
Jot or tittle? I never heard of that.
Yeah,
Okay, look that one up.
Jot or tittle? Is that what?
Jot or tittle.
What?
Just look up the words jot or tittle. It goes
Dude,
back to Jesus.
What
is this
translation
phrase,
is that? Is that the Michigan translation?
No, it's
Matthew 5:18.
yeah.
From what? Seriously though, from what version
I'm
or
looking it up,
translation or whatever? I never heard that. That must be King James.
It could be.
It is King James.
Yeah. Usually, I don't read King James because I don't get it. Like again, going back to cultural idioms, there's some things I'll read and I'll be like, I don't get
It
that.
basically means not even the little punctuation accents or anything on the law.
Oh.
Nothing at all.
So jot or tittle
was
is
changed.
it's a literary reference.
It's
Yeah.
also the American Standard Version. So
It's pretty much all of them. It's a really famous phrase. It's almost that of what Jesus said. It's
away from the law. Okay, so
Never
says,
got
"For
to me.
verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass away from the law, till all things be accomplished."
yeah, which
It's kind of like the whole.
they were
I've
kind of
not-
referring to the Jesus returning and the whole apocalypse.
I-
whatever.
Hey guys, just so you know, righteous anger. I just got 2 atheists to quote Bible.
I quote Bible.
That's What else are you going to quote when you're talking about God?
I'm making him read the Bible.
I've read it. I've read it a couple times.
The whole thing?
I
Yeah.
would say you
Through numbers?
I've read, yeah.
That's pretty tough. To
You
get
probably
through.
like numbers, though. You seem like a guy that be into numbers.
Not like Proverbs.
Were you a math
more-
guy? Were you a math and science guy?
Solid.
Yeah, I do like math.
You're a
yeah.
STEM dude?
I also read most of the Quran. That was hellish to get through. That's so boring.
Where now? Let me ask you this about the Quran. This is an interesting question to a
Yeah.
non-Muslim, but a guy that has read the Quran.
Most of it. I won't claim to read the whole Quran yet, but there's some.
Do you believe? And this is good because like you're kind of like you're like all religion sucks. Do you? So I'll get a really good honest thing from you. Hopefully,
Atheists tend to be objective on it.
As
and
lo- as
most
long-
atheists, know the Bible more than most Christians because we have to defend the damn
dude.
thing.
I
against all
will.
the
I will agree with you there. There's a lot of Christians out there that are not practicing, but profess to be. Listen,
Question on Islam.
question on Islam. Do you believe that Islam is a peace-loving religion, a religion of peace?
That is a tough cookie.
It's really a
I hope
non.
ISIS isn't watching.
Okay,
They're going to be pissed.
it's a non-question. Let me ask you.
Oh, he's going to say no religion is a peace-loving religion.
No. It's like asking, does Christianity believe in dunking children in water? And you have to say, well, yeah, well, some, not all of them. Yeah, some, but some sects that do it this way. Some, The thing about Islam is it's not like Catholicism. Catholicism has what at the top?
The Pope.
Pope says everything, kind of filters down to all Catholicism.
Unfortunately, it should be God on the top, but it is.
Okay.
You're right. It is the Pope.
Since there's
Just under the top.
And then just Mary.
since the throne is empty up there and no one's really talking to anyone.
I love it.
You're talking about the Pope again, right?
No, just the throne.
The throne. Yeah.
No, I get what you're
I know what I'm saying. But
There's some winking going on.
Islam is actually different. It's more like what other religions are like that? A little bit like the Baptists. The Baptists have the convention, but every Baptist
The Lutherans have the
pastor.
the Duke of.
You know, it'd be awesome.
every
Archduke.
Baptist pastors they don't even need a education to become a pastor.
I know.
Yeah, we talked about that in the
Yeah.
in a.
They don't
when
have to
we
go.
had
Some don't have to go to seminary. They just say, "Oh, I believe."
I was called to the
called to the
Yeah.
There's certain
The
titles
throne.
they can't use though. Like I think
guys.
What-
We're getting in some crazy legalism here.
But
Yeah.
Which I
Islam is similar to that, where it's very distributed.
Okay, I get it. So what he's saying is there's a lot of different sects of Islam depending on which one you talk to.
Right.
But they all read from the Quran, right?
Yes.
And so I'm a book guy. I'm
Yes.
like, look, if I read Shakespeare, I understand Shakespeare. If you read the Quran, you should understand Islam.
Right.
So based on the Quran, from what you've read,
should.
But
is it a peace-loving religion or not?
see, that's the thing is that the Muslims do
I see
the
why
same,
they call you nondescript.
the Muslims do the same damn thing the Christians do to the Quran that the Christians do with the Bible. There's some vile things in the Bible. There's people boiled in water in the Bible, and kids being mauled and hacked to death, and people coming in with foreskins for God
There's fratricide. There's
there's some nasty things
homicide,
in
suicide.
there. You don't hear that stuff in Sunday
Infanticide.
school. The Quran does have some vile things too.
Could you imagine if
I'm
they
not
started
a
teaching
proponent of it.
Could you imagine if they started teaching some of that stuff in Sunday school? Actually, my daughter goes to a Sunday school. We don't call it that, but Sunday school, and the church I go to. You're familiar with it, New Life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a New Lifer.
Yeah.
That sounds hokey, but yeah, there you go. I've been one
It's crunchy.
Yeah.
since.
It looks like such a cartoony church from the logos and stuff.
I know. Well,
That makes it seem inviting.
watch out because Ben Osterhaus, who's actually the guy who designed all that,
Really?
he watches. So, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. It is very.
It looks friendly. It looks inviting.
It looks
I'm
like
not going to
I
criticize.
thought it was a Nickelodeon logo
Dude.
at first, but
I'm gonna have to tell Ben. Ben,
That's high praise.
did you steal that from Nickelodeon? Really? So no, but one thing is I was surprised. She after church, I'm looking at like these, she has these coloring things, right?
Right.
Basically, they talk about the different stories in the Bible, and I'm like, that is really close to what the Bible actually like it. That's a PG-13. But then I was like, well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good because I don't know if we should. I feel like our culture is kind of going to your point about Ava. Our culture, what you've been doing, sort of fighting against making kids just sort of be these
templates, molded of the parents.
But not only that, but to the society, which is like this ultra PC. Don't talk about this. Which it chaps my butt. Sorry, there might
Grinds
be kids.
my gears, baby.
Yeah.
My daughter says butt all the time.
Yeah, no, but
Daddy's got to stop shaking his butt.
I asked her what she liked. She went to the zoo today. I asked her what she liked most about the zoo. And she said, the gorilla showed us his butt. It's like, really?
So, Leo, tell me what chafes your behind.
Oh, here, well, on Scott Howard says, playing on the fence. Which religion would you stand in front of a group of 20 men in their indigenous country and say that their religion was not peaceful and be okay with accepting? I don't see the rest of it, but yeah, I see Scott's point is
I would not go to ISIS and say that. I would go to my wife's family, who are really nice people, and say that.
Right. So depending on, but it goes back to the Charlie Hebdo and everything. Like these guys put out a cartoon.
There's certain Christians I would not say that to.
And the next thing they're getting shot at. Yeah.
No, you're right.
I would say that to you.
There's certain atheists I wouldn't say anything.
There's some atheists who are out there too, but
sure.
You know what I think it is?
Some people got tainted atheists.
It's people. It's human.
People.
It's the human condition.
The problem is people who are willing to use violence to justify their moral philosophy, and the people who aren't. That's all of humanity is in those two groups.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to waffle on the Quran, because the Quran says some vile stuff, but have you ever talked to a Muslim about certain verses in the Quran?
Several Muslims on different sides of different sects.
There's one surah called Women, and halfway down it talks about how to beat women when they misbehave.
How to do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I talked to
Can I get that, by the way? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Tanya.
Bottom of the feet.
Has to be a thumbs with, yeah.
Right.
But I talked to a Muslim about that, and it's like, really, this is bad stuff, right there. It's bad stuff, and he's like, no, it's not talking about how to beat your wife, and he's actually doing apologetics of what back in the day that type of beating really meant.
By the way, apologetics, just for people that are listening that don't know, apologetics doesn't come from the word apology. Apologetics basically
comes from explaining.
Explaining, the explainer of whatever.
The quote real meaning of verses.
Right.
But the same thing, and you know what it sounded like? Exactly what you were talking when we were trying to talk about slavery.
Yeah.
Exactly the same, qualifying the verse about beating women.
Hey, all I said was we need to understand the context. And
yes.
And you and I.
But you've heard the argument though that it wasn't really slavery; it was just indentured servitude.
Well, I would say, my big thing is I'm not here saying that's good. What I'm saying is Jesus wasn't down for that, and that's one of the many reasons why when he tried,
he never spoke against it.
It's tacit, right? Let's move beyond that.
Yeah, okay.
It was tacit discussion,
and I would say he did speak against it.
Yeah,
okay.
Maybe not say specifically. I don't know this, by the way. I'm not an apologist or anything. I'm just some a-hole with a microphone in front of me.
Right.
But
Leo's not on trial for defending Christianity. Let's just put that out there.
I am as a Christian, but
no, not personally.
Hey, we got two atheists against a Christian. We got to.
But no.
I'm not on any side here.
No. This is my house.
Oh, it's true.
This is my studio. I don't care if you guys come after me. That's fine. But I'm going to tell you, it's like coming after a kid with no weapons. You know what I mean? Like I don't have the weapons to.
Well, let us educate you then.
Yeah. Please, Pastor Eric Herman.
Throw the E word out there.
Pastor Eric here of the Church of Scientology.
No.
Church of Scientology.
I have.
Can we all agree, atheists and Christians alike, that Scientology's crazy?
Yes.
Can we agree on that?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, we've all
now. Don't ask me if it's
right?
any more crazy than other religions,
I'm not
because it's okay.
Just Scientology. Can we agree that that's a little nuts?
So where do you go, Eric, when someone asks you, how did everything come to be? Like, what's your explanation to the beginnings of everything? And do you believe in the beginnings to everything?
I'm going to give you two sides to that question, because what I feel that question is implying is that if I can't explain how everything came to be, the default is God did it, which not
For the record,
not really.
For the record, I never said that.
I know. I'm saying that. That's why I'm coming to two sides of it.
You guys are great.
That's why I said this is what seems to be implied when you ask when I get asked that a lot.
Do you think that a person that doesn't believe in religion would ask that question too, or do you think they'd ask a different question?
They'd ask a question, but my basic answer to the question is I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think anyone knows, because
And if you're being a fair Christian, you'd say the same thing.
Okay, that's good.
I don't know for sure.
How about that? Some more common ground. I like this. This is good.
That's good.
Yeah, we both don't know. You might have a belief about it.
But as soon as you start making claims of what you think happened before the universe, then that is a positive claim. You have to say why you think that.
So is that the answer? Is that I don't know?
Yeah, ultimately it's I don't know. I mean, there's some theories of what happened within the few first milliseconds of the universe. They have some models that seem to be pretty accurate to what observed.
Now, do you think, Eric Herman, that's even is that a question that you even care about?
Oh, I care about, sure.
Why do you care about that question?
I just like to know stuff. Ultimately, does it really affect my life? No. I mean, I could be a brain in a vat and still live my life happily as I am right now and just thinking about what I want to think about.
I'm going to go ahead and disagree that if you were a brain in a vat, you'd be like, get me out of this vat.
No.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. It's like think of The Matrix. Have you watched the movie The Matrix?
Yeah, but they had a little world to live in, though.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Are you conscious of the vat that you're living in?
Right. No.
I think that's the
that's the analogy I'm making, is that you think that this is the world you're living in, but really you're a brain in the vat, like as of The Matrix.
So let me ask you a question.
Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, baby.
Yes.
So let me ask you this then: if that is in fact the case, if what you're saying is that you don't know any better, therefore it doesn't exist, right?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, sorry. Good.
Trying to quarter each other. It's like
No.
sparring.
It's. I don't say therefore of anything. It's like I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a before the universe. We haven't established that, because if the universe was some sort of singularity, that's high enough density of gravity that time itself is basically tied off.
Well, we go away from the natural world. That's the problem. Is once we get outside of the natural world,
but it's still natural outside the universe. If there's an outside, it's just not this natural.
Whoa. Supernatural.
You're using a loaded term there.
I'm using a term that. What else would you call it?
You'd call it something.
I would say
nature.
something outside of outside of this universe, outside
Of the natural world.
Extra dimensional. We'll put it that way.
But if you can measure dimension, isn't it natural?
Yeah, it's natural for that. Let's call it the megaverse. If the universe is inside some sort of megaverse that allowed for this universe to happen, then there's a natural for that megaverse, whatever that is.
Okay.
Or the multiverse, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
It's there's no. When you're talking about supernatural, you're talking about spirits and stuff like that. Generally, it's just like outside physical phenomenon, like ghosts and stuff.
Oh yeah,
breaking.
So I have a question.
Supernatural doesn't just mean ghosts. If you believe in, I don't believe in ghosts.
It means it's somehow violating the laws of nature.
I'm not some superstitious yokel you're talking to.
Knock on wood.
Okay. Let me put it this way. I don't want to define supernatural for you, since I don't believe in it. You define it, since you say what you think it is.
You don't believe in supernatural, right?
No, not that I know of.
You only believe in natural because that's the only thing that science can define, or even
it's the only thing that's been necessary to define anything.
It's the only thing that's useful. Let's put
the only thing useful. Yeah,
you can derive utility from things that you can define. In nature.
There's no explanatory value to anything supernatural.
I would disagree, but we'll get into that after.
My question. Timeout. Let's change topics for a
Yeah,
second.
you haven't talked a lot.
I want to ask a question to both of you, since I'm kind of like on the middle here.
Okay.
You are an agnostic?
well, I'm in the middle between both of you. I'm trying to take the middle
you're
ground here.
physically in
Oh,
the
you're
middle.
physically in
I'm
the middle.
acting.
Right.
He's tired of us
middle
talking
ground.
past him. He wants to talk now.
Right,
No,
let's
I want to ask you a question to both of you.
make this a triangle.
It's a thought experiment for both of you. What evidence would convince you that God exists, and what evidence would undermine your faith completely and make you lack belief in God?
I'll tell you.
Like for Leo, it's
That's a great question.
the question of what evidence would prove to you that God doesn't exist, and for you, what evidence would prove to you that God does exist?
That's a loaded question.
Okay.
Well,
That's a loaded question because
what would undermine your faith?
to,
Is
a-
really
to ask him. Wait,
what would
okay.
undermine your faith?
You're
What
saying-
would establish your faith?
You're saying what would make me an atheist and what would make him a Christian?
Yeah. What would
Okay, what would make you you want to go first? Or you want me to go first? This is a
I like this
I got
kind of thing
an
because I'm
answer.
in the middle and I get to ask both questions.
Okay, I'll let you go. You're the guest. Go for it.
okay. Leo, I believe you exist. It wasn't very hard for me to believe that you exist. I believed that you existed just based on videos I saw before I even met you.
Yeah, but what if your consciousness is a figment of your own imagination?
Well, it doesn't really matter. I still
Tangible focus.
Yeah.
The evidence that would make you a Christian.
But
What
it's
is-
so fun to go into this metaphysical
Okay,
place.
let me finish my
Go for it.
my thing. Is that I'm just saying that because you're not a god, right?
I'm the god of sexiness.
No,
God of tits
I
and
refute.
wine.
I refute that.
You like men? Do you like men, Eric Herman?
To a certain extent, but not in that way.
So
it's not too difficult for me to be convinced. Well, I'm gonna go. Okay, let me step backward even further. Do you believe that belief is a thing you do consciously? Like, I choose to believe this.
I thought this was a question to
it's
him.
a question.
On
It's
what?
a question to what evidence would exist. Let's say
Okay.
something exists
What do you
that
need-
would change your point
what
of
do
view
you-
on.
First
on
of all,
Christ.
I want to say that from my point of view, belief is something that you don't do yourself.
That's why I didn't
That you-
phrase it with
right.
belief. The question is, what evidence would need
Would
to exist
convince me.
to convince you that Christianity is the appropriate view?
It would have to be something. You know, obviously, I was convinced that I can't say
For
exactly.
you, it's just for you. It's not for anybody else.
Okay, I can't say exactly because first of all, I don't have a good enough definition of what a god is or what a god can do.
I've asked myself this question as
Right.
an atheist, and I know what my answer is.
But it has to be. It has to be something at least as simple as what Leo did, and
proof.
not being a god himself, he was able to prove to me exist just by his actions. The second part of the question would be. Belief is not something that is not on my part to do. I can't, like, if I want to do right now, I cannot choose to believe the moon is made of green cheese. I can't just say, okay, now I believe that. In my heart, I believe the moon is made of green cheese.
That's a perfect example because in that example, just so I can explain my question a little bit better, if I were to go to the moon and return with a cup full of cheese to prove to you
that I saw in the videos that
you
might,
saw the entire trip of the evidence.
Yeah, that might convince me, but
That was made
I
in a
can't-
Hollywood
But
studio.
that would be me being convinced it is.
Let's say you
And
were,
I would-
let's say you were sent to the moon so that you could physically
Okay,
see it.
in that case, it would not be up to me. It would be impossible for me to not believe
Exactly.
it's made of green cheese.
So
it's,
in that
it's not
vein-
something that is of my volition. Now, you not being a god was able to convince me that you exist. A god is supposed to be ultra intelligent, right?
Omniscient,
Omniscient,
all-knowing, all-powerful.
all-knowing, all-powerful.
Right.
It would know exactly what would convince me that it exists and exactly what would fail to convince me that it exists. Right now, I do not believe it exists. So the environment has been set up in such a way that it is totally unconvincing to me that it exists. I'm sure a God, if it wanted me to believe it exists, could easily have made the environment the other way, which would be more convincing
So
to me.
God would need to set up a set of circumstances that would meet your criteria for evidence.
Not even meet my criteria,
then-
it's just
No,
what he
you-
knows would convince me
Exactly.
exists.
He would need to set up the criteria that he knows you need to believe.
And that criteria would have to be at least as minimal as what Lee did in his
Lee Strobel?
Leo.
Oh.
Leo did
in that thought experiment. Okay.
In his efforts to convince me that he exists, which was how hard was it to convince me that you exist? What did you do to do
I'm
that?
not quite sure he does exist.
I had to be in your path.
Yeah, kind of.
I had to be in your path because I could have been somewhere else. Like there's how many people do you think exist that you don't know exist?
About 7.6 billion.
Yeah, most of them. Of course, your God is.
How do you know they exist?
There's somehow evidence of their existence that indicates their existence. Yeah.
Well, how do you know that wasn't made up?
Because of other evidence I've
How do you know?
had.
How do you know Bill McGillicuddy in
we don't know.
Tibet?
I don't know that. I don't know if that exists.
Right, but let's assume that for this hypothetical that Bill McGillicuddy exists in Tibet on the top of the mountain or wherever, right, in some hut, and he does exist, but you've never met him, you've never heard of him, you have no evidence that he exists, but therefore he does still exist. Do you think that's possible?
That's very possible.
Okay.
Is your God omnipresent also?
What does that mean?
Everywhere?
all at the same time. Everything.
What do you mean by that?
Is he here now?
What do you mean by here now?
In this room.
Physically, is he somehow present here?
Present in... Is he sitting here right now with us?
Has he crossed my path? You're talking about
I don't know.
Bill McGillicuddy.
I don't know.
You know,
I don't know. I'm a human being. I can't... If there in fact is an omnipresent God, omnipresent, omniscient, all powerful, what is that? Omnipotent God,
Omnipotent.
right?
Yeah.
If that being exists, right? As a human being, he may be here. He may not be here.
And if so it's really up to this God to figure out whether he wants to tip his hand or not.
Right. And there's guys like Lee Strobel, right? Who is devout atheist. If there's
He wasn't. Oh, okay.
well, enough to.
He was an atheist before he became a Christian.
Well, his whole thing was, I'm sick of my wife is becoming a Christian, and he thought that was a terrible thing, and he used his skills as an investigative reporter to try to figure out or try to prove to her and all her idiot Christian friends that. No,
the
Jesus
case for Christ.
Jesus Christ didn't exist. He did not die on the cross. He was, and all that stuff, right? Okay. And then in the process became a Christian. He's not the only case of that happening. So the phenomena of an atheist or an agnostic, he was at least an agnostic,
That's granted.
becoming a Christian because for some reason the evidence was enough for them. That phenomenon exists.
Right.
It just hasn't happened to you.
And what would convince me a God exists is different than what would convince Eric or you that a God exists.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So,
But there is something that would convince me he exists.
what it reminds me of in archaeology, we have this thing, right, where can you not step on my thunder every time I mention that? Eric is such a good student. He's the one that raises his hand and says the question or the answer.
But go ahead, make your point.
Okay, but in archaeology, right? The cardinal sin in archaeology is to say when you find bones, or find an artifact, this is the oldest whatever.
Right.
This is the oldest whatever. You always have to say this is the oldest that we've found so far.
Correct.
Okay?
Same with science. Any science is like that.
Right. So for you to say, you actually in that world or in that with that understanding,
I am yet to be convinced that a God exists.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't say from your thing earlier when you said, "Look, I don't know what happened before. I don't know what started this whole thing going." Or
I can't make a claim about outside the universe.
I can't because I'm a human being living in the 20. Are we still in the 21st century?
Yes, we are.
21st century. Sorry, not a numbers guy, but we're still in the 21st century, and there's so many things that's so far removed that we just can't. We can't say
yay or nay to.
We can't say it with 100%, right?
Or any percent. We can't put a percentage to it.
Right.
Okay, so we can't make a claim.
So
the claim cannot be made. Allegedly.
Right.
Leo, go on your point. Where were you going with that?
So my point is that I highly respect Eric Herman right now.
Right on.
Because Eric Herman is, he's conscious enough to go, look, I'm an atheist. This is what I believe. This based on, as a true scientist, right? Based on the evidence that I have so far. As long as you add the so far there, all the way up until when you die and it doesn't matter to you anymore, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a thinker to me. That's somebody who thinks.
And I'll tell you that most atheists I know will say that there is evidence that would convince me a God exists if one did.
I have yet to be provided it.
Yeah, if they were provided that, they're willing to, they would have no choice but to believe after that. They still might not follow the God. Because really that God...
See, this is a guy that was indoctrinated in some kind of religious thing. He was in different religions or this guy just said something super profound. You know what it was?
Why don't you explain it so I don't step on your thunder?
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm giving you full permission.
Please. After you. No, really.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I want to hear it from you.
I know what he knows you're going to say.
What am I going to say, Eric?
That...
Why don't we flip the question? Because we got the fact that there's an evidential standard. We don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. And if we did know what it is, it would be provided.
Eric Herman said that even if he was provided the evidence,
he would not.
That doesn't necessarily mean that he would follow God. Why? Because God, and again, this isn't just because it says so in the Bible. It's because it's just a natural phenomenon in human beings that just because you get a choice to do something and the evidence is there for it, doesn't mean you're... Drugs are bad.
That guy in Tibet, McGillicuddy...
Yeah, Bill.
If you convince me that guy exists,
Billy,
that doesn't mean that I'll like or dislike him.
But will you believe he existed?
Yeah, I would at that point believe he existed once I met the guy.
I have an answer for that, though.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
If I was provided the evidence that would meet my standard, I'd be a mesotheist. I would not be a believer.
You'd be a billotheist.
I'd be a believer. Well, I would be a believer, but I'd be a mesotheist.
And let me flip this for you.
I would absolutely know God exists, and I would absolutely hate him.
What are you guys, like some kind of like flapjack professors over here? You guys keep flipping stuff on me.
No,
you flip the first one. I'm flipping the second.
Let's follow this thought train to its logical conclusion.
He wants to flip it on me.
Yeah, let me flip this on you.
It's your turn. It's
his
turn.
No.
His turn to flip it?
No.
It's like his turn for the answer.
No.
You've given your evidential standard. It's time for your
Eric's
standard.
about to flip it. I want to hear his
I want to take this one point and flip it a little bit. Okay, I said before how if there's a God, it would know exactly what would convince me and exactly what would fall short of convincing me. You also mentioned that being convinced that a God exists is different than thinking that this God is worthwhile to follow, worthwhile to worship or whatever. Obviously...
Well, worthwhile is one thing, but if this God tells you to do things, and this is very common, tells you to do things that you just don't want to do, then...
Or I don't think are worth doing. Or,
sure.
Yeah,
but it could also... You
things
could,
that I think are bad to do, I would not do them.
Yeah, but you could think that something is... Have you ever been ashamed of your life? In your life? You've been ashamed of yourself, right?
But let me continue.
You've done something you didn't want to do, but you did anyway.
Right. Let me go further, though. This God, if he decides for me to be on the side of, I want this guy just to fall short of believing me, he is actually taking away my free will to follow him or not follow him. Only after I know that this God exists can I then say, okay, well, who is this God and is he worth following?
Well, of course, we're going on the assumption that God has not given you the clues that you need.
Obviously not, because I'm still an atheist.
Well, not necessarily, my friend.
He has given me enough clues to fall short of convincing me he exists.
No, he is not giving you any clues, according to you. Because he doesn't exist. How can something that doesn't exist give you clues?
If a God exists, he has given me not enough clues to convince me it exists.
Did he give you any clues?
That's a big question.
I would not know because I don't believe it exists.
So you see our conundrum now.
So
we're
if
stuck in
it
a
gives me,
supposition loop.
he could have given me clues to his existence that were purposely insufficient to convince me.
So you're saying that it's like God exists, but he doesn't want Eric Herman to know he exists.
Right. I mean, if God wanted me to know it exists, then obviously he knows exactly what would convince me.
Right.
He would have done that. Since he hasn't done that, it's not enough evidence to convince me by definition.
Okay. All right, we'll go with that.
Okay. Therefore, he has taken away any free will I have to choose whether to follow him or not.
Okay, so I think we need to define the term free will.
Yeah, and I don't really want to.
That's a deep topic.
It's that's a whole different rabbit hole. Let's just say
It's a worthy rabbit hole.
yeah, but
True.
I'll rephrase that. It takes away my choice to do so. A lot of Christianity is based on whether you choose to follow Jesus, that you get the salvation, or don't choose to follow Jesus, you get whatever.
So let's
Either hell or
let's talk hypothetically for a
Right.
second. Let's talk hypothetically. Outside of the fact that you don't follow Jesus because
Right.
you don't believe Jesus was well, I mean, you don't believe Jesus was God. So you don't believe that there's a God, right? Outside the fact that you don't believe
that a God exists.
that a God exists. Outside that, would you follow Jesus otherwise? Like, as far as the way, when I say follow Jesus, follow
as a character in the book.
let's say Jesus is this really cool Marvel character, and if he was in the Marvel pantheon,
There's some things that are attributed to Jesus in the Bible that I think are very valid.
okay, but what I'm saying is, would you follow his Would you follow his example? Do you think Jesus is worth, like, the idea of Jesus and his teachings? Do you think they're worth following?
I don't agree. Yeah, this is going into a different tangent.
If you take issue with something, tell me what that is. I'd love to know. Like one of his teachings.
I know which one I do.
Which one would you do?
The fact that he was never a father, that really doesn't resonate with me. It's hard to take moral advice from somebody who never had children.
Yeah, but he never said don't have children though.
No, but he never did.
See,
That's a problem.
But I'm saying take Jesus, take the man out.
Okay.
And I'm saying the teachings.
Could I have to go to the Bible and figure out which of the verses were the red letter verses or not? But let me think about this.
We're just going off the top of the dome, man.
I know. I'm trying to think of a specific example.
That example resonates with me because I can't take moral teachings from somebody. I can take certain types of moral teachings from somebody who's not a father, but when it comes to deep, meaningful questions to my existence, I can't listen to somebody who's never had children.
Yeah, but for me
that's minor.
That's it's minor for you, but for me it's pretty substantial.
All right, but going into the whole whatever. I don't even know the word.
Following him, yeah.
But going into the whole thing, if Jesus is truly God, right? He's part of the Trinity.
If
God the Father,
yes,
God the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? Okay, if you believe that, then Jesus does understand what it means to be a father because he's the father of all of us. If that is in fact the teaching, then he understands what it means to be a father.
And I would say that people who have not been fathers yet can still say some wise things.
Yes, they can, but there's certain things they can't say.
So I would say, Eric, I would say
there's some by omission. There's some things by omission about Jesus.
Have you ever? Here's an example.
For example, a previous example of not discondoning slavery.
I'm going to give you something that's relevant to your lives right now. Do you have any single friends?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get offers to go do stuff with them, and you're like, "Oh gosh, you know what? I got to figure out what to do with my kid. I got to figure out if I can." That's the kind of advice that you're getting.
I would not take any advice from
Eric. Which
Jesus,
teaching, Eric?
It's an abstraction. It's just
Eric. Which teaching would you not follow then? Because you said based on the fact that he hasn't had children, I won't listen to anything he says.
Well, there's certain things that you.
Is that what you're saying?
Certain things that you can't take seriously.
Like what?
What about your friends?
Like what? What can't you take seriously? We gotta think more on this. We can't just go, okay, all of it's bunk.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there's certain things that I would not take seriously.
Like what?
Well, some of his, I don't know. There's a lot of philosophy that Jesus espouses about, abandoning your family and following him, and I'm like, okay, well,
how do I
feel about that? These are my kids. These are people I care about a lot. How am I supposed to turn my back on them if they don't feel like following Jesus?
You're talking about if you truly love God,
then you should hate your family.
You should hate your family.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that means?
I do. I know what that means.
What does it mean?
I'm not going to dive into that. That's specifically about.
He's not going to.
I'm
He's
not
not going
gonna,
to
'cause I
dive
don't
into
wanna-
it.
no,
We're not going to
'cause-
have a serious conversation, Righteous Anger listeners. We're not going to go there.
I really would like to get back to the turnaround of the question because we're still on
Okay,
Eric.
you're right.
What evidence would make me an atheist?
Yes.
Yeah.
What exactly would qualify as something that would turn you? Like you would look at things on the surface and say, you know what, this is not true.
Ken Ham said nothing.
That's scary.
That's scary.
There
So,
should always be.
do better than Ken Ham, please. I know you probably don't like him either.
What? Yeah, there's a lot of Christians and apologists that I don't like.
That's why I purposely gave that.
There's some that I do though. What would turn me atheist? What would turn me atheist?
What would demonstrate to you that this is really not making sense? And
You guys see the problem with this question to me, right?
It's never going to be one thing.
it's number one thing, but give me an idea of the types of things that would eventually make you an atheist.
Okay. If when I die and nothing happens after that, it's all black. I'm an atheist at that point.
Okay.
So basically nothing. You're Ken Hamish.
I just can't think of anything at this point. Like maybe you guys can help me being practicing
Okay.
atheist. What do you guys think?
What convinced you that a God exists?
That's a. Ooh.
Well, I've always believed a God exists, even when I was Buddhist. I believed a some kind of being that I believed in a creator.
Okay, what specifically
But-
convinced you of that?
What
Because when you get to the idea of exactly what convinced you,
I would say
that if that thing was not true,
I would
that
say-
would maybe not bring you back.
I would say my work, my coursework in archaeology actually strengthened my belief that
Interesting.
A, God exists, and Jesus actually did die and rise into heaven. I do believe that based on what we have so far. So in order for me to get away from that, we would have to, without a doubt,
Find further archaeological evidence that shows
says, you know what, that never happened. We know for a fact that didn't happen, and we can archaeologically prove that didn't happen. The problem is we haven't, and we can't. So that's why it's kind of a bad question to ask me, because I don't think you'd be able to find it. But just based on the fact that we're talking physical,
I actually disagree with that. I think we could.
But this
no,
this is Leo's point of view.
but we're talking
Let's be open to it.
we're talking physical world and then metaphysical world. Now, if you don't believe in a metaphysical world, then
Okay, so
So
if
you
you
need
stop believing in a metaphysical world, then you would stop believing in a God.
cool. So prove to me there's no such thing as a metaphysical realm.
Well, what convinced you that a metaphysical world exists? Well, how do you define a metaphysical world?
A world that's outside of nature.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Do you believe that we have souls? Do you believe you have a soul?
Well, what is the soul?
You're pulling some street epistemology out of your pocket, aren't you? Yeah. You're. it's good,
I've always
it
asked
works.
this when someone says a word that I feel is
It's loaded. You got to.
It's a loaded
drive
word.
to the definitions
Yeah.
that are being used.
a lot of these discussions. We have to really get to the definitions of things before you can even talk intelligently about it. Because when someone says the word God, everyone in the room has a different idea of what that word means.
Kind of like when I asked you
And-
guys those questions that you said you wouldn't answer.
And
It's
then
tough to answer it
and then
because-
when I'm answering what my definition is, what I would react with my definition, it's not meeting what your definition is in your mind, because we're talking about two different beings. Even.
Well, do you believe in anything close to a soul or anything outside of?
Okay, what do you mean by soul?
Do you believe that you exist outside of your body? Outside of just your body? Do you believe that you are just your body, or do you believe that you are?
I believe I'm pretty much just my body.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything that has anything to do with your I guess consciousness
Let me put it this way.
is because of your brain and what's going on in your brain.
Let me put it this way. My brain has built this model of what the world is in my head based on input it's gotten from my senses.
Right.
And I'm actually only interacting with this model in my brain,
Right.
which affects my muscles and actually interacts with the real,
Now,
I think is the real world, but it's actually a model in my brain of the real world, and it can actually be demonstrated. You know, just the corrections the brain makes. For example, the
Illusions.
the optic nerve part of the retina, which you never notice it in your view of vision unless you stare at something and then put your finger and you can actually see your finger disappear. It's like, oh, there is a hole there, but you never notice it because your brain's model of the world just corrects for it a little bit. So everything that I understand is from this brain model I have.
Right. Okay. I hate to do this, but I had one last question for you before we end the show. So can we?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right. Oh yeah, hold on. 1 second, Eric. Eric and Eric, why don't you guys do a little song for us?
A song? I don't know.
Emmanuel Kant was real pissant, was very rarely stable. Heidegger was a boozy beggar who could think you under the table. David Hume could out-consume Schopenhauer and Hegel. And Wittgenstein was a beery swine who was twice as schloss as Schlegel. There's nothing Nietzsche couldn't teach you about the raising of the wrist. Socrates himself was permanently pissed. John Stuart Mill of his own free will on half a bottle of shandy was particularly ill. Plato they say could stick it away. Half a pint of whiskey every day. Aristotle was a beggar for the bottle. Hobbes was fond of his dram, and René Descartes was a drunken fart. I drink, therefore I am. Oh, Socrates himself is particularly missed. Lovely little thinker, but a bugger when he's pissed. Okay, we're back now.
Eric, come on, Eric.
By the way, my daughter knows that song too.
That was a wonderful little ditty you did there. What is that Irish? What is that?
Monty Python.
I failed. I failed big, didn't I?
Oh yeah. You don't recognize the Bruce song?
I never watched Life of. That's Life of.
No, that's a skit.
Not Life of Brian. What? Oh, it's a skit. It's
Yeah.
from one of the many skits.
Yeah.
I only watched the movies, so that's probably why I didn't know.
Second only to spam.
I do know that one. Whenever Monty Python, I say, what is it?
I got two legs from my hips to the ground, and when I move them, they walk around, and when I lift them, they climb the stairs, and when I shave them, they ain't got hairs. That's another one. Okay, we lost our host again.
Eric Santiago.
I'm dead.
Please. It's your turn. Do you have a song?
Okay,
No, I have no songs. I don't know songs. Sorry.
so you better swap those coals out quickly before you run out of
Airtime.
material.
We're losing them. Okay. No, but in all seriousness,
I probably lost with that song.
No. That's going to become its own little clip. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
You did ask what did it for us to make us atheists.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that song?
We never really answered. Well, for Eric, it might be. It's a gradual building of evidence. Like,
Yeah.
I just eventually lost.
Building of evidence of something that's not there.
Yeah,
No, it's building of evidence against claims, religious claims.
You guys know I hate religion, right?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
okay. For me, okay, let's go back to definitions. For me, a religion is any belief or set of beliefs in one or more gods, including any associated rites or rituals.
So we can actually call anything in culture a religion.
No,
oh boy, that's
if
dangerous.
there's an actual god involved, yes.
No, the God's escape definition at that point.
Yeah. What is?
No, I said belief in one or more gods.
I get what he's saying. I'm not gonna mess with you. All right.
You can stretch the definition
Exactly,
of God
we're
to be
getting
just about any
semantics.
things, but that's another
Fantastic.
thing. We haven't really defined what a god is or soul or anything else. But
Okay. We'll get to that because you're coming back, and I might even maybe come on your show.
Oh yeah, I'd love you on
Tomorrow.
my
Maybe.
sure.
One problem. I got group on
Conflicting
Thursdays.
schedules. Yeah, we got to figure something out.
That's the only problem is
Get you set up
I've got a
at the
couples
studio.
group and I
We could come in a different day. We can can it.
Pre-record.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's sexy. I like that idea. So my question to you is one of going back to morals, right?
Right.
You don't believe in God.
Sure. Very much correct.
You don't believe in the supernatural or metaphysical realm.
No, I haven't even gotten a good definition of what that's supposed to be yet. But yeah.
Okay.
Or God for that matter.
You don't and since you don't believe in the metaphysical realm,
Right.
you don't believe in a realm outside of your death. Correct?
Yeah. When I die, I'm pretty much dead. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the kind of definition of dead.
2 questions.
Yes.
First question. Has that ever bothered you?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to live longer than I'm going to. That bothers me a little bit. I don't think I'd want to live forever. That would be kind of boring.
I'm not talking about living on Earth, but living
anywhere forever is kind of boring. Okay, first trillion years, you do pretty much all you want to do, and you still have the rest of eternity.
But you're supposing that in another whatever realm or whatever, you're supposing there's such a thing as time, and that we understand that it's passing.
Basically, I would want to live for as long as I want to live.
How long would you like to live?
I haven't lived that long yet. I don't know.
How old are you?
50-ish.
You look no older than 35, my friend.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
You look good for your age, man. You old man.
I am. I'm an old man. But
Golly, look at you.
I haven't lived, I can tell you I haven't lived half as long as I'd like to, but I don't know how long I would like to until I've done it.
100 seems a little excessive.
I
Like
think
making
I could do it. I could do another round of this.
You could do 1,000 years. Sounds
Yeah,
nice.
but I mean, if your body just keeps getting worse and worse, that kind of sucks.
Oh, no. Yeah. If I'm going to be, as soon as I'm incapable of doing stuff, I wouldn't want to live further. I'm assuming that I'm living a relatively agile existence, healthy existence.
It'd be nice.
If
I can't do anything, that's not really living.
Does it ever bother you, or have you ever thought about the idea that you live your existence, right, for a finite amount of time, and then after another certain amount of time, you don't matter anymore? You might not matter now. I don't know, but I think you do.
Let me ask you something.
Oh, question with a question.
Yes. Do you like ice cream?
No.
You don't?
No.
Yeah, that's going to be a bad example then, but...
Do you like steak?
Depends on the steak.
What other do you like it? Do you like candy? Do you like anything?
No.
Okay, do you like hookah?
Currently, I do.
Okay, very good. We'll use that as an example.
I did hate hookah 2 years ago.
Now,
because I got sick of it.
Now, the thing is that there's not really much you get from it calorie-wise, or it's a finite thing you do. It doesn't really have any permanent effect on you, except so maybe some
Cancer,
negative ones.
cancer, yeah.
But assuming that it's assuming you have a healthy version of the hookah, it's a limited thing. It doesn't really matter much in the rest of your life, yet you enjoy it now. You're enjoying it right now. It matters to you right now.
Yes. Sure. I'll go with
Same
that.
with my life. My life matters to me right now. It matters to me in the same way that you're enjoying the hookah right now. Does it bother you that you're not going to enjoy the hookah after we leave off the air tonight? This particular hookah?
I like where your analogy is going. The only problem is that you are making hookah the same as existence.
It's a metaphor. Yeah, it's an imperfect metaphor.
It's actually a better metaphor if the hookah was alive, but it's not.
No, because I wouldn't want to smoke. That's okay. That's kind of weird, kinky.
No, I mean for the hookah's existence.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the hookah's existence. So I'm just talking about the enjoyment of the hookah, something a little more abstract than that. But life right now matters to me. It kind of matters to me abstractly after I'm dead, because my daughter's going to live on and hopefully have a nice life and everything. It doesn't really bother me that I'm not going to exist after a while.
Do you have a moral code?
Yes, I do.
Where'd you get it?
Oh, lots of places. First of all, culturally, some of it's instinct. I think humans have evolved to have this group instinct. We form groups. A lot of animals do. In order to have a group, you need three main things. You need compassion for those within the group, competition, and cooperation. The compassion kind of keeps the group glued together. The competition gives it sort of a hierarchy, and the cooperation gives it a function. I get a lot of our morals are based on that.
You mean a structure?
The competition gives it a structure.
What was the third
hierarchy.
one?
Cooperation, be able to do stuff together, to function. It gives it a function.
Okay.
That gives us a lot of our morals. What we feel, our rules for competition, our rules for how we affect compassion to each other, the whole us versus them we have, compassion for those within the group, then the corollary is protect ourselves from those outside the group. A lot of our morals come from that. A lot of our morals come from society, what we're brought up to be. I come from Michigan. I didn't really. There's some morality I was taught that I didn't keep. Like, I'm not really racist, and a lot of people from Michigan, unfortunately, are.
You didn't keep the moral of racism,
right? That is a moral. That's a moral stance. I'm not saying it is moral. I'm saying it's a moral stance. Whether you think that humans are equal or not, I consider that a moral stance, and I think they are equal. There's others that might disagree with that.
I'm gonna take a little issue with the wording, but
you know what I mean by that.
I think so, but continue.
But basically, my world. I'm not going to use morality. I'll say worldview. How about that? Is that better?
Man, come to an anthropologist, worldview and paradigm. Those are $500 words, man. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Good. So my worldview is made up of instinct. It's made up of culture. It's made up of my personal experiences, my interactions with people, what I've learned about who people are, what my interactions with them do, seasoned with my compassion for other people. I could feel their pain. I have empathy because I can feel what they're going through, and that builds up what my morality is. And I think it also builds up what your morality is. I think that the reason people from different religions can come to the same morals is not because of their holy books, which every one of them is different. It's because of this commonality we have as humans. It's the humanism.
And going past that, there's a singularity.
Not really.
And that singularity, now, mind you, I'm using the word singularity, and I think I learned it from Eric Santiago here, so
oh boy.
I might be using it wrong, but you just said that all these different religions and peoples and cultures kind of agree as far as a moral code. A lot of them overlap. Most of them.
Oh, they overlap because we're all humans.
They're the same. We're all humans.
Yeah.
So you'd say that no matter what culture you come from, a moral code isn't a universal.
No, because it's still human-centric. It's because of the common human experience. If some alien came in to Earth, their morality would be from that alien perspective.
Let me dive into the world of humanism or naturalism. Okay.
Okay.
The naturalist world. If an alien came to this planet, would they still be from the natural world?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you say that being a natural being, there still would be things that were A, advantageous, and things that were B, disadvantageous?
For who?
For both.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we can say, even with aliens, there'd still be commonalities in morality.
There'll be some.
Like the idea that, things that would basically make the different tribes, the alien tribes and the human tribes, flourish is the same thing.
But there'll also be things that would benefit aliens and not as much humans, and things that benefit humans and not as much aliens. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay for people to have different moral codes.
But I wonder if those things would be in the realm of morality, and B, what would those different things be? If you got a living being, right? And the difference between this being going to Taoism, Tao Te Ching, okay? One of the many things I studied. There's duality in everything, right? Hot, cold, life, death, whatever, light, dark, all that, right? Yin and yang, right? The yin and yang affects the alien as much as it affects the human. So you could say even their singularity is the fact that they're all of the natural world.
Okay. First, I'd like to go again backing up to definitions, which we've done a lot here. But I define morality, whether something's moral or not, as based on interactions between people. If I'm up by myself on an island as a hermit, I think no matter what I do...
An Eric Hermit?
An Eric Hermit. Oh, okay.
That's pretty clever.
Let me adjust my seat here.
I think morality...
Yeah,
I think morality works like taxes. It's transactional.
Yeah, if I'm a hermit on an island, there's nothing I can do right or wrong. It's because I don't affect anyone.
What about suicide?
Yeah, it wouldn't affect anyone.
Do you believe that suicide is not in the moral spectrum?
Only if you're not a hermit on an island. If I committed suicide right now, I think that would be wrong because I would really be negatively affecting my family.
And me and Leo. Thanks, dude.
And you guys. Well, yeah.
But what if you're
and friends and other people?
But what if there was something in the future that you were going to do that was going to help others? Aren't you in fact hurting them in some way?
No, first of all, you're going to die sometime anyways. Second of all,
but I'm talking about.
Second of all, if you can't have autonomy over what you do to your own body, you do really have autonomy.
You do have autonomy. You do have autonomy. I have autonomy to shove this in my eye right now.
Right.
Would that be good? No, because I'd lose sight in my eye. It'd be a bad thing. We can agree that me shoving this in my eye right now would be bad for my body, correct?
It would be bad for your body, but what's bad for your body is not necessarily a moral issue.
Oh, it totally could be.
Only, from my point of view, only to the effect that it affects other people besides you.
So you don't matter?
From a moral point of view, yes. That's true.
So the things that you do don't matter?
From a moral point of view, to the extent that what I do doesn't affect anyone else. For example, I'm against a lot of the drug laws, because a lot of the drug laws are laws about people doing stuff without any effect to other people.
Where's the moral ground there?
There is none.
Okay, so what about people that get on PCP and start destroying things and people?
Okay, now that's where they start affecting other people.
So should they outlaw PCP?
Well,
for the good and because it's a moral issue now.
Okay, now you're talking about PCP not as what the person's doing to themselves. I don't care if they were to lock themselves in a room, do PCP all you want.
Yeah, but see, the problem is the negative things that you do to yourself create a monster sometimes, and that monster can end up affecting other people.
What they do to the other people, I believe, is a moral issue, not the PCP itself.
But the road that they went down turns into the issue of affecting other people. Therefore, is it now a moral question?
Okay.
Yeah, it's consequentialism.
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric.
I'm trying to think about.
I'm sorry to put you in that.
I was pondering the alien scenario. I was still stuck on that. I would say that there's no moral act that doesn't benefit our survival as a species at that point.
Yeah,
that would be the only moral paradigm shift.
What's that? Say that again.
Like if aliens are introduced into our environment, like right now it's just humans. The only intelligent life that we can compete with, is other humans. If we were competing with another species of intelligent life, the moral argument would be, well, how do we survive as a species?
Right.
How do we ensure our survival?
Is it immoral for a lion to kill a gazelle?
Would it be moral for them to kill us because they are a higher level being, or would it be moral for us to kill them because they're a lower level being?
Here's the moral argument. You just illustrated the problem, or a problem, and it's this. From
the gazelle's point of view, it's immoral.
I hope that we don't taste good to them.
I believe that. Okay,
that highlights how it's relative, because from the gazelle's point of view, it's immoral. From the lion's point of view, it's moral, and they're both right.
I got to say this.
Yeah.
So where I stand, all I can do is speak for myself.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So
your show.
From where I stand, okay. If there's laws, there has to be a law giver.
No.
Because why would there be laws if there was no law giver?
You're talking about like the laws of the universe?
I'm talking about your moral code.
Moral laws.
It was given to you.
Okay, yeah, there's lawgivers. It's us. We created those.
Okay, so tell me who created the moral code? Who was the creator of our moral code? What was his name? What was his or her name?
It was everybody.
So it was a lot of people, man. It was John Locke. It was
there's different influences from different societies. There's
it's always been bad.
Rulers.
It's always been bad to do certain things. Certain things not
really. There's some societies where it's actually they promoted like killing is good. They don't survive because those societies are not really effective.
Well, so you're saying
back to survival, guys. What
our
laws
morality
actually benefit the
evolved
society's
because the
survival?
societies that had better morals survived better.
If I told you that you shouldn't lie, right? That's immoral. Not to lie to people, right?
Which I disagree with.
Right, okay. But that's a law, right? Or that's a moral code, right? Not to be a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it good not to be a liar? Well, I can tell you a zillion different reasons why it's good not to be a liar, right? Not just for other people, but also for your own self. What it does to be an honest person, why is that good? There's reasons why that's good.
But notice that can you lie if you're a hermit on an island?
You can lie to yourself. I can tell myself that coconut doesn't need to be cracked, and then I crack my teeth. I just lied to myself.
Yeah, but you pretty much you know the lie.
You feel what I'm saying though, like the idea that there's moral codes that you don't have to follow them, and if you didn't follow them, you might actually thrive better. Your tribe might thrive better. You'll thrive better. People tell lies all the time because they don't want to get into trouble, or they don't want to get hurt or killed. Or
the reason there's lies in society is because lies are not always a bad thing. They're sometimes good for society.
Noble lies that benefit the group.
There's the example of the guy who's about to die, and his family, and he's like really distraught. He's like, I can't leave now because my family's in such debt. I'm the breadwinner. I can't, and he's just in terrible agony. And finally, one of his relatives said, "Yesterday I won the lottery. You don't have to worry about our financial state." And he died in peace because he knew that his family was taken care of. It was a lie, but it made the guy's last few moments at least more peaceful than they would have been. The guy, he can't do anything anyways. The lie was comforting, and it was no negative effect.
do you believe that comfort is the most important thing in our lives?
When you're on your deathbed and there's nothing else, yes.
No, but do you think that that's the ultimate thing, is to try to live a life of comfort?
No. That's...
So why is it so important to us, especially in this day and age, in this culture, to be comfortable?
Well, comfort is comfortable. It is a good thing.
Can it be a negative thing?
It can be. It's like like lying. Lying can be a very negative thing. In some cases, it can be a positive thing. You can't just make a blanket statement and say, "Well, comfort, there's one thing. Is this the highest thing?" It's like, no, not. You can't point to that and say that's the highest thing, or a bad thing, or a good thing.
You lied. In your story, the guy lied because he wanted to provide
comfort,
right? But is that are you saying now that was the most important thing? Was that person? On a deathbed, there's nothing. You want him to go in peace. You don't want his last few moments. The only thing, you can't give him anything. You can't give him life. You can't give him a job. You can't give him accomplishment in what he's done. He's already done everything. The only thing now you can give him is comfort. So on the deathbed, when the only thing you can give is comfort, and you give him comfort, that's a good thing. Is it the ultimate good thing? No, but it's a good thing. That's why they give morphine to people as they're dying, just so they don't be in agony as you're dying. I mean, at that point, there's nothing else besides comfort. Would you, if you were the man, not necessarily on the deathbed, maybe on the deathbed, but if you were the man, and then there's a truth, but it was withheld from you, are you okay with that? Not knowing the truth because you're comforted?
If I'm a dead man, yeah. I'm not, on my deathbed, I'm not going to hopefully worry that much about what I can't do at this point.
So what's the point of comforting you?
Compassion.
Compassion? Yeah.
I love it when they do that. Compassion.
It's sympathy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's not in your story. But what I'm saying is that righteous anger is all about asking deep questions and trying to
getting angry about them.
Get to the answer of these deep questions. Exposing conundrums, exposing issues. And I think that Eric Herman did a great job today on our podcast. What do you think, Eric Santiago?
I think he did wonderfully.
I want to look.
Cool.
We're
I pass. Well, yeah.
You pass, man. We're 5 minutes over. which is a good sign. It means we had a lot of fun.
Good.
I want to, again, thank Eric Herman for coming on. If you could just plug a couple of your things.
Okay, I have the Non-Descript Atheist radio show / podcast. You can hear it live Thursdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, streamed live at radiofairfax.com. And you can also download the podcast at trustreason.com. And the RSS feed is there. It's trustreason.com / feed equals podcast. And Eric Santiago is my host on the show. We occasionally get guests when we can, which is...
I've known you for a year and you can't pronounce my last name right. Come on, man.
Santiago.
Ago. Just let it roll off.
I like it. I like the way he says it.
No.
Santiago. I'm going to call you that from now on.
Santiago. Okay.
Oh my god.
That's like that takes you back to the military.
If it makes you feel better, I don't pronounce my wife's name either.
Oh really? Tarana?
You can't pronounce. You can't pronounce.
I can't
woman?
pronounce it.
Hey, woman.
Don't even go there.
Tarana's really ticked right now watching. She's like, these guys.
Is she on there?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have no idea whether she's probably not listening. She's probably waiting for me to get home to do the chores.
Tarane
Mogani.
Thanks for watching. It's good to see you again. Sort of. I'm not really seeing you, but
Yeah. Okay.
for those of you guys that are listening to this, I just grabbed Eric Santiago's phone and I said hello to Eric Herman's wife.
Oh, she is listening. Wonderful.
So, guys.
My final thought
Oh,
is,
what's your final thought?
I appreciate the dialogue.
Me too.
That we are able to talk civilly without coming to blows, fighting each other.
What's the point?
What's the point of discussing this stuff?
No, what's the point of fighting?
There is none.
But there is a point to understanding one another.
Yes, there's a big point to it.
There's a time for
You don't
peace
have to
and a
ask
time
questions.
for war, a time for bringing stones together.
Yes,
What was the,
you're mangling the Bible.
I'm mangling it right now. There's a time for fighting and a time
There's
for
a
peace.
season for all things.
Yes.
I want to thank everybody for listening to Righteous Anger Podcast, episode 14. Stay tuned for next week, Wednesday, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to talk to